changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I
this is episode number 2. And that's going to be a little bit longer than the first one, of course. Point of this one is purchasing equipment for voiceover. It's not a daunting task, but it takes a lot of attention to detail. Knowing what you're going to produce is most helpful, what kind of voiceover work you want to do. For my case, as I said in the first one, commercials, PSAs, hopefully some narrations here and there. So since I'm not going to deal with any kind of singing, I didn't need that type of mic. So the types of mics that were available, condenser mics and dynamic mics. Since I'm hooking mine up to my computer, I went with a USB pluggable type, which has a device between the microphone and the PC. So the first mic I had, I borrowed from a friend. It's an Elgato Wave 3, and it worked well. I had it for a long time, a few months, before I really started using it and getting some feedback. So he needed it back after a while, so I had to go out and find another one. By this time, I'd been looking around to see which mics were the best, which ones were considered the worst, which ones were too pricey. And that's when I settled on this one. So I stepped it up from a regular USB, just plugged directly into the computer, to the XLR type. And that's based on what I learned from Google searches for other VO artists and just the usual, hey, what's the best equipment to get? So now I use an Elgato DX mic with the Elgato XLR. It's a pretty nice setup. I wouldn't consider it pricey compared with how much you can spend on a whole mic setup. I mean, a couple of grand if you really want to go out there. So I got this mic, the cable, and the XLR unit for $279 off of Amazon. And I bought it through Amazon Japan. Got it in a couple of days, downloaded the software updates for it because I already had the Wavelink software for the original Wave 3. I downloaded some updates. So with the software running, I can make changes from the XLR and the software itself. And you'll see it show up either way. So I can see those changes. I turn the dial while looking at the Wavelink software. I can see the changes corresponding. So the software I use now for actually making recordings is Audacity. So early on, I got GarageBand because I'm running this off a Mac. And GarageBand worked pretty well. I was putting in plugins and messing around with the levels. I put a lot of effort into it, reading websites and understanding how the plugins worked and what position the plugins should be in while you're recording. Then I wound up on Audacity. My coach pointed me to that, said, hey, you're better off using Audacity than GarageBand. For most people, it's personal. For me, I learned as I went. I found Audacity is easier for me to use, far as out of the box and just getting ready to sit down and start doing work. There's less things I have to do, less things I have to pay attention to on a regular basis. It's not a template style like you get with GarageBand where you set a template, you save it every time you open it, it's there. Pretty much when I open Audacity, it's at the foundation. There are a couple of things I need to look into, such as the audio setup. When I click on it, for share audio, I have to make sure that the monitoring is enabled. That way I can see the levels when I look up at the screen, and I can tell whether or not my voice is overmodulating or undermodulating. Pretty much it's undermodulating because I kind of sit back from the mic. The closer I get to the mic, of course, the higher it goes. But as I said earlier, I don't want to blow your guys' eardrums out. So we're going to go with this for a while. Okay. So also, I'm still kind of not done with purchasing the electronic side of the house gear. I'm sure there's something else I can use out there. I just keep my ears and eyes open and see where that goes. moving on from hardware, or rather software side mics and such, I got a cheap boom mic that I mounted to the desk so that, I can articulate the arm, move it around, move the mic around to wherever I need it. Not too thrilled with it. It's got springs on the side, so if you bump into it, it'll make noise. You'll hear it, and it'll vibrate through to the mic. I did get a sound shield to put around the mic. It sits right behind the mic. It's not a tall one. I'm not standing up. I'm sitting down. It works quite well. There's no sound bouncing off the back. The closer I get, the more the voice is focused into the mic. Still learning about, I guess you want to say posture, good mic posture. Supposed to be within, say, finger and thumb distance as you stretch them out towards the mic. Got to work on those mouth noises too. Got a dry mouth. Should be drinking some water. Those exposed springs, if you hit them, you'll get a thunk. If you hear that, that's what that sounds like. It can be very annoying. Plus, the arm is kind of weak, so you really have to crank down on the knob to get it to stay in one position. Otherwise, the mic can be heavy with that shield on it, and it'll pull it down farther and farther. So I got a new one, and it's an Elgato brand. It's supposed to work with this mic. We'll see when it gets here. One thing about this mic, it does not have the outside pop filter, and it does not have an outside, what do you want to call it? The cage there. Yeah, this mic's supposed to have a built-in shock mount, so you don't really need to buy an outside one. You can get one. It just has to match the size of the mic. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with the setup. I can always, go out and get more professional, in quotes. But right now I'm just kind of budgeting it, starting off the low end and work my way up. For room treatment, meaning keep the loud, hollow sounds out of your room. I'm in a very small one. As I said, I live in Japan, so the room I'm in is pretty tiny compared to most you'll find in the U.S. in houses and apartments there, depending where you live. If you live in New York, you're probably going to have a smaller place than, say, you live in L.A., apartment in Los Angeles or San Francisco. Maybe they'll be smaller, larger. Everything depends. This one, I didn't take the measurements, but I'm like 6'3". So if I lay on the floor and, stretch out, my feet will be on one side. And if I hold my hands above my head, they'll probably touch the other side of the wall. And that's width, lengthwise. It's probably about 1.5 of me long. And a standard, say, almost 7 foot ceiling. So, yeah, it's smaller. I wouldn't even call it a den in the U.S. It's easy to treat this. I got curtains on one side. I've made this structure by going to a DIY shop, local DIY shop called D2. If you live in Japan and you're listening to this, you'll know what I'm talking about, at least in the Yokohama area. Bought some pieces, parts, stuck together. It holds up. Still working bugs out because all the ones that I looked for online, although they were nice, they were pretty expensive. The cheapest production one that I found was about $400. I said, I could probably get away with something cheaper than that. I don't need much. You'll hear people say that, hey, they took a cardboard box and sturdied it up, threw some cushions on top and some blankets, or they just sit in their closet and record, run all the cabling in there, sit in their closet, do their thing. You're not in there that long. You pop out, you do your editing, you send it off. And that works for a lot of folks. So you don't need to go whole hog. You don't need, $8,000 to get started. You can get going for a pretty good price. So also, you may hear people say you must have a good set of headphones. Well, you should have a good set of headphones. I I did get a set. These are Sennheiser. I like them. They're the HD 280 Pro. They're comfortable. They're about $100. They work just fine. Some people don't like wearing headsets because they don't want to hear their own voice when they're doing recordings. So, it's kind of up to you. If that really bugs you, well, ditch the headphones. You can just use regular speakers when you're editing. Although they tell you if you really want to hear what you're doing, you really want to get into the sound, headphones are a must. So I would say at least invest in a decent pair of headphones that you can hear, shuts out most of the noise. If you have some sitting around that you use for flying on planes, whatever, you can turn on the audio dampening, then those should work just fine. So, yeah, the cost of my setup, at least for my booth, was about 7,000 yen. At this time, that's about around $65 US. I bought a couple of moving blankets online from the US, from Amazon. Cost me $35 for 2 of those. Today I was walking through the D2 store again, looking for some other parts, and found they had what I was looking for this time. They didn't have it before, but they got it now. They had a couple of moving blankets down there for work or, moving your furniture around. They're pretty thick. They're 180 centimeters by 180 centimeters. And it was around 2,000 yen, 2,000 and some change, which is less than $20. So I probably don't need it, but I may buy another one just to cover the sides of this thing and make it a little more deep in sound. It deadens the sound, but if anybody walks in your room and look at it, like my wife and daughter saw me when I put this thing together and I was sitting at, they had a pretty good laugh and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Hey, it's my sound booth so I can record and keep the sound from bouncing around the hard objects." You don't have to cover the entire room. You just want to make sure that anything hard, surface-wise, that may be around you has a buffer that can absorb sound. So you can literally just hang your jacket on top of something or a blanket, and that should work just fine. So, again, the equipment that I purchased, you can find it at www.elgato.com. If you want to see one of the items I looked at, it's called Snap Studio Vocal Booth. If you drop that into Amazon, you'll get a picture of what I'm talking about. And so a nice mic setup costs. I can recommend the one I have, the Wave DX with the Wave XLR compact USB interface and the cable. Those 3 things together, when I purchased them, $279. Price has probably gone up and down. Last time I was on the site, I believe they said the XLR was out of stock. That was earlier this week. By the time you guys hear this, it's going to be a while. And as I said, it has a built-in pop filter and shock mount. So you don't have to immediately go out and purchase those unless you really want to. I haven't had a problem with plosives, as they call them. A lot of P's. You will hear my S's out there and F's probably. My K's are pretty hard. You can use either GarageBand or Audacity for recording. Both are free. If you got a Mac, GarageBand's on it. If you have Windows, just download Audacity. It installs pretty quick. You can also install Audacity on your Mac, which is what I did. Let's see. You can search for but not immediately sign up for a site that offers voiceover services. They're called pay-to-play sites. They're kind of expensive in most cases. I think the one that I use, voices.com, they're around $500 for an annual account. I've got one because I found a coupon. So I got a break. I got it to $375. Vice the $500 price, which saved me some dollars. Again, you do enough sleuthing around, you'll be able to find some decent deals. There's some other ones out there. Fiverr, Fiverr is one. They're a pay-to-play site. they're probably a little cheaper. Check out the reviews before you just jump in and sign up. You'll get a lot of pros and cons. Make sure you read the cons. They'll tell you why, and you'll be able to figure out, just like I do on Amazon when I purchase stuff, I look at the cons. Why did this person not like it? And it's something like, well, I didn't like the customer service. I didn't like the color I got. This functionality does not work for me. If I don't use that functionality, it's not that important to me. I'm not too worried about it. There's going to be pros and cons for everything. I already assume that if I ask for support, it's going to be tough getting support. But does the product work? Are there enough people saying they like it for the reasons I need it? Not because, it doesn't do everything for you through magic. Okay, so we're going to sign off here. And you guys have a good day. Combate to the side. Please hang in.
Yeah, this is my life, my strife, my right to fight, to die on. And this is my game to play, to claim a brand new name, oh. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm a bit nervous that I might screw everything up that I've ever done. But what's the point of living if you ain't having fun? I guess I'll try this, try that, might miss, gotta find what I'm good at. I guess I look here, look there, over where am I scared, where am I at? I gotta make it in this life. Whatever makes me happy, know I'm doing things right. Sipping in the summer on a goose and Sprite, or find a nightclub for the end of the night, oh. And we all got dreams, we all want things. But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?